Welcome back to the Commissioner's Corner podcast. This is the first podcast for Madden 17, and we wanted to kick it off with a very special episode. Tonight, we will be having the commissioner of Madden Ballers Club, Pooty, on the show. Tonight, he sits down with Bomber to talk about Madden, the community, and of course, Madden Ballers Club. Check out the interview. This is going to be the entire length of the podcast, and let us know what you guys think about it in the comments section.
All right, guys, what's up? This is actually the Commissioner's Corner segment to the Commissioner's Corners podcast, and we have a special guest today, the commissioner of the Madden Ballers Club. That's the PS4 Daddy League's League of the Year. That's right, we have Pooty here. Pooty, what is up, and how's it going?
What's going on, Bomber? I'm doing pretty good. Just, enjoying the evening right now, and glad we're finally got our league underway and kicking off. We're going into week 3 in about an hour and a half, so looking forward to it.
Oh, definitely. And the NBL is kicking off tonight, too, so we know about all these quick advances. And if y'all are saying, who's the Madden Ballers Club? I don't know who the Madden Ballers Club is. First, you should slap yourself. They've been around 52 seasons. Since Madden 12, August to August, you can catch them on daddyleagues.com/MBC, Madden Ballers Club. And we'll have some video playing as we're talking right now. Pooty, 52 seasons, man. Are you thinking about retirement, bro? That's a lot of seasons.
It is very taxing at times. There have definitely been times throughout the years that I've thought about it, but it's been kind of an enjoyment to meet different guys and meet new guys from around the country who share the same ideas and passions about football, and to be able to get to know some of them on a personal level. So it's a lot of I feel like a lot of good friends have been made through that. So it's definitely a long span when you think about it.
And this is really community building, right? I mean, you've gone from Madden 12 till Madden 17 now. So I mean, that's 5 Maddens, 52 seasons. I mean, that's over 10 seasons a cycle. So I mean, you got a lot of good stuff going on. And guys, if you want to give him a follow on Twitter, it's at PHTYT, I believe. That's correct, right, Pooty?
Yes, sir. That's right.
PHTYT on Twitter. Go ahead and give him a follow, man. He's really he responds with the CFM community. He's always looking out for us, man. So I'm really happy we could have him on. But let's go ahead and get right into it, man. So what is the general feeling of the guys in the Madden Ballers Club of Madden 17 thus far? I know we've only been out a month, and they're still fixing some issues in the CFM. I've also seen you post some crazy wild goals in the league crawler chat. I mean, stuff that didn't even add up or make sense. If you want to explain to the guys what you've seen, some weird quirky things that you've seen, but also tell them the general feeling of the league thus far.
Well, I think so far, as early as we are in the season, most of the guys, everything's pretty new, so we're trying to figure out where there's an issue at. But, gameplay-wise, it feels pretty solid for the most part. I mean, there's a few issues here and there that could be cleaned up, but, it definitely feels like the better gameplay that we've had in a long time. So I think most of the guys are pretty happy with that part. And everyone's always excited at the start of the year to start off. So, everyone's excited to see how good they can do this season, and hopefully not too bad. But as far as the goal thing that you're talking about, I noticed. Actually, one of our users showed me last night, or night before last, that if you go under the player goals, it'll show on the first page some crazy numbers. Like I have Harrison Smith for the Vikings, only played 2 games, and they said he had 60 interceptions, which is pretty much unrealistic. So
yeah, that's crazy.
And there were some other, and it was other guys. It's like Adrian Peterson. It said only had like 10 yards rushing when he has like 100.
So you're basically like 1 to 2 weeks in, and I saw a couple of them. It'll be like % completed on the goal, right? And some of yours said 106% complete. And I was like, well, what kind of season are these? Season goals? What are these? I mean, it just didn't really make sense. It seemed like just a coding error, something with that.
Yeah, I think it is a coding error because if you actually click on the individual, because that one page, it just shows all the players. If you click on the individual, when you go to the next page, it actually shows the correct stat for that player.
Okay, so there is a way to actually see the correct thing but when you're just looking at it from where you can see all your players on one similar page without clicking the individual player, it kind of goofs up a little bit on that screen.
Yeah, and so I don't know that it's really affecting anything because we haven't been in far enough to get to the XP to see if it's being affected by it, but it is collecting the stats correctly. Except I read a post today on Operation Sports that we have a thread. We actually have a thread going over there where if you have a CFM bug or issue to go post it. I started the thread, and it just kind of turned into that. This guy said that his kicker stats actually aren't showing at all, no matter, like nowhere.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So he's afraid his kicker won't get any XP at all, so he can't improve them. So, and I haven't had time since I got off work today and read that to actually check mine. But that's something you can go check to see if your kickers are actually getting any XP or not. I haven't had a chance to look at that.
And Pooty, you should post the link to that Operation Sports thread on your Twitter at PHTYT. So the guys listening can go check it out, man. That seems like a really good thread for us to have on Operation Sports to get everybody involved, because when we have thousands of eyes on one thing, we can kind of weed out some issues that we're all collectively having, or maybe one league kind of missed it, something to look for, and kind of help your league as it continues to go through the stages in the CFM.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought when I first made the post. It was just kind of asking, can we just have a thread solely for CFM, since but most of the online leagues are starting, that day, and because it's kind of hard to filter through just all the different bugs that they find in all the modes. So I was like, if we could just get one thread for the CFM stuff, and all the guys, you go there and you post what you're finding, and that way we can help one another look out for things, maybe find workarounds until it's patched, that type of thing. So
and speaking of patches, not to cut you off, but I've heard you say many times in the League Crawler chat how you hate that they're patching the game to accommodate people who aren't necessarily playing a strategic way, or necessarily playing to protect the ball when they're running the ball, with the strip thing. So how do you feel right now about how much they've patched the game, and would you like to see maybe patch in other areas, or are you content with the patches they've made thus far?
Well, the thing with the strip thing, I know that they had made a post that said, they didn't patch that because people were crying about fumbling a lot, but ever since it's been patched, I've tried every time I tackle someone to strip the ball, and I've yet to strip the ball since. Yeah. So that tells me that it was nerfed. I mean, I have no other way to look at it besides that. If you watch a real NFL game, if you listen to coaches of real NFL teams, one of their biggest pet peeves, especially for the running backs, but for even the wide receivers and tight ends, is how they carry the ball. And if you're not covering the ball when someone's coming to tackle you, a lot of these teams nowadays, if you watch Seattle Seahawks and some of the Steelers and some of these other teams, they are trained to strip that ball out. If they see you're not carrying it correctly, they're going to strip you. And it happens quite often when guys aren't covering the ball, and then they end up getting laid up by the coach and bench because they weren't covering the ball. A lot of times I think that was what was going on with these people who had a problem with being stripped, was they weren't covering the ball when they were when someone was coming to tackle them, and they fumbled. Well, that's the way it should happen. So I really hated that they patched that.
I definitely think we could have found a happy median. I completely agree with you.
Yes.
I have a guy in my league who's the Jets, Delvar, and he was saying, hey, every time I'm doing this strip, I'm getting a large success. And there just has to be a median between the guys carrying, you going for the strip, and him not protecting the ball. There has to be some kind of variable that allows the defense to make a play in those situations. And it does look like they've completely killed it altogether, as what you were saying, as what you just stated.
I mean, that's how it kind of seems to be, and I agree with you. There should be a medium between the two, and and it should relate directly to the person's carry. If you've got a running back with low carry, he ought to be losing the ball quite often if he's getting stripped, if he's not covering the ball. If he's got high carry attribute, then he probably won't lose it as often. If someone's trying to strip it, he's going to be smart enough to cover the ball up. They have the trait, cover the ball for all hits or cover the ball for, just medium. So all of those things really should play into it. And if that's the case, then we should be able to find guys who have, if we're going against someone with low carry, he ought to be getting stripped if he's not covering the ball.
It should eliminate those Dree Archers and Jeff Demps, people who try to use those guys that are just pure speed gimmicks.
Yeah, and of course it's not saying every time you go run up to them and you hit the strip button they should be stripped. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but it should definitely play into a role where it definitely feels like now that it's not. It's just So I was disappointed. I was disappointed in that.
All right, and that creates, people losing the ball. They get the rage going. So that's going to transition into my next thing. I was looking over your rules on daddyleagues.com/MBC. Very nice looking website. And it says, and the rules page says, and this is something that we have a rule as well, It says, do not quit for any reason, even if someone is breaking the rules. And it says, ... I mean, it goes down and then it says, the man up. Explain on that. Explain why y'all came to that rule, because I know how MBL came to that rule where we don't allow people to quit for any reason. You can pause it and make and address this or that, but quitting, it's so subjective on what you feel is being broken and what rule is broken. I can't have people just quitting because they feel they were robbed. Finish the game out and we'll address it then if we can't address it while you're playing.
Yeah, man. Well, when we moved to the PS4, the reason we did it for Madden 25 was because of the ability to stream and record all games, because that ends any doubt if there was something broken. That was one of the reasons we did it. So part of the reasoning for that rule for us was, look, a lot of times if you're in a game, something may happen. You may be losing, or like with the strip thing that you're talking about, you might get mad because you fumbled and thought you shouldn't have. When people start getting mad like that, they start thinking they see something that may not be there. And I actually had this happen today. A new member was saying some things that he thought happened, but he actually played the game out. That was the difference. And I just went over with the video, and it was like, you can see here, this is not the case, and this is not the case. And that's the reason for it. It's like sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, your emotions are getting to you, and you may think they're not. And if you go back and look at the
100%.
video, you go back and look at the video later on after you've cooled down, and you can see it, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, So we would rather people play it out, and like you said, that's actually part of our rule too. If someone's breaking the rule, you pause the game and you send them a text and say, hey man, that was against the rule. Let's try not to do that again the rest of the game, and then you just kind of talk it out, and then you can unpause and continue, which is the civil thing to be doing, and that's how we want our members to relate with one another. So, and if you can't do that, and if you're just going to get mad and quit the game, well, you're probably not going to be a good member in the long run. So
yeah, I 100% agree. And anybody who plays CFM as much as me and you do, there's times I feel like, man, what's going on? What is he doing? Then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, that was nothing. The guys were just making a good play, or this was happening because of this, and it ends up being nothing. But I know multiple members in my league that will say something and then say, well, let me watch the tape before I even say anything, and then they'll say, nah, it was nothing, that one's on me. I just during the game, you're thinking and you're trying to counter so many things that you see that sometimes you get caught up in thinking you saw some things or thinking something went one way when it actually didn't.
Yeah, man, and and that's actually another rule we had to make last year was, if you're going to file a complaint, first of all, you have to have video, and second of all, you have to wait until the game's over, and then you have to go back and watch it yourself, and make sure that what you think you saw, because we have spent the rules committee we have is 5 members that was voted on by our other members of who they wanted to be on the rules committee, and we go through. If anyone makes a complaint, we go through, we'll watch the video, all of us, we have a chat, and we talk about what we think we saw, or what we felt about it, and we come to a conclusion. And so many times, you hear someone say, well, they run this all game, or they run this 80% of the game, or
they just throw out these percentages, right?
Yeah, and every time I hear that, I automatically know it's a lie, because it's never been proven right. And we've spent hours and hours going back through videotape to find out what the person thought they saw wasn't even on tape, and they were just upset that they lost, and they thought that they seen something. And so that's, now we have to have a rules, like if you're going to make a complaint, you're going to go back and watch it first, and you're going to make sure before you bring it to us, before we have to spend our time on it, you're going to make sure that that's what happened.
Yeah, and guys, if you're listening, this is a league that's been running for 52 seasons, 5 Maddens. So they've gone through the whole process of figuring things out. In NBL, we're only in season 19, and we're coming across, and I like that you're saying these things, because I'm saying, yeah, that's kind of how we do it, So you have to have that efficiency as a league. So if you're a young commissioner watching this, you want to have these things you want to kind of get ahead of it before it becomes a real issue and it becomes something that divides the league.
Yeah, and that's that was one of the things that I found early on was, it's really important. You've got to have the structure. You've got to have fairness for everybody, and you've got to stick with what you sit down as a rule has to go for every person, and you've got to stick with it. And you've
even
got
harder
like
on the admins and the people that have the power and they need to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes our rules committee guys who are also part of the trade committee, sometimes they ask me if we can get another person on the committee, because we only have 5, and our requirement is you have to have 3 approvals. Well, if you have 2 trade committee members trading with one another, you've only got 3 guys to approve it, and if one of them says no, then it can't go through.
Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how it makes it harder for them to make a trade to eliminate kind of collusion. The majority will leave, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's how I feel about it. It's like, well, guys, look, you know, they put us in this place to have this power. We need to be held at a higher standard for that, you know. And it's not like we're trying to get over any shady deals anyway, but just to keep it at that level, we've got to have. I feel like it's better that we have it that way because it shows that we're not, you know, we're not trying to get over anything. We're just, you know, we're held to a little higher standard for that because it would be. So
yeah, and it creates that clarity in everybody's mind that nobody's thinking collusion. Now I want to transition you to the PS4 Daddy Leagues League of the Year, and congratulations on that. That's a big thing, being the #1 league. According to Daddy Leagues on PS4, Daddy Leagues is our #1 site. It's where most all sim leagues go to, and that's why I think it was important. Maybe me and you have a little discussion about what is simulation football. I see it getting tossed around all the time. Some people say I play freestyle, I play simulation. To me, what simulation is to me, and I'll just say my opinion on it first, it's just basically saying that you want to play the game in a standard that creates more of a strategic setting. That doesn't play into what you feel as a league or as a group of people, depending on how many people are creating the league. What y'all feel is taking advantage of the game. So it might not be, because some people say, oh, simulation is what you see on Sunday. Well, I see a lot of crazy things on Sunday, and if that's the engine of my offense, the crazy things, that wouldn't be simulation to me, but it could be to you. It's just basically rules in place that allow your league to play at a strategic level that you feel is realistic. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that statement, and you know, thank you for mentioning that. And the reason why, you know, we won that award was only because of our owners. You know, they're what make the league. That's what makes every league good.
Definitely.
You got good owners. You got good communication. You can have a great league. You know, and as far as what you're saying there, man, I totally agree. And you know, because I've had other guys, you know, talk about this and debate this, and I feel the same way in the sense of, you know, I think it should simulate what you see on Sunday, but at the same time, there's some things that I think gets lost in that translation, because then people say, well, if it happened once in real life, it should happen here. Or if this
Exactly.
happens. But at the same time, I also realize this is a video game and it has limitations that are not found in real life. You know, there's AI limitations and there's other types of limitations. So, because, you know, like we have a rule, you know, you can't run forward with the quarterback out of the pocket and throw. Yes, that happens in real life, but in the game, people use that over
to pull in the flat guy so they can throw it over the top, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and they know that guy's going to come in, and they know that no one's going to cover the other guy. So
it's actually gotten better this Madden, but
yes,
I 100% know what you're saying. It was a pure gimmick. Run to the sideline, step as close to the line as you can, and then hit that guy streaking down the sideline as the cornerback just, you know, comes completely at you and loses his position.
Yeah, so, you know, to me, in our league, what we try to do is we try to have it as close to real life football as we can within the limitations of a video game that we're given. So, in every year, we actually have a section where our members, after they play it for a while, they can submit, you know, if they want a rule removed, or if they want a rule amended, or if they want to add a new rule, they submit it, they present evidence why, and then our rules committee votes on it, you know. And if they voted in, then we make it a new rule. If they don't, we don't, you know. So we try to do that so that the members of our league feels like this is best representing the way that they want to play, you know. So, and, you know, and it does vary from different leagues, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's another thing I think a lot of guys feel like if, you know, if they say they're sim and this other league says they're sim and their rules aren't the same, then one of them's not sim, and it's like, well, that's what's sim
that's
to
ridiculous.
That's what's sim to your group of guys, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. And if they want to have a lobby league and that's how they want to play, then that's fine. You know, that's what those guys like. But definitely. You know, to me, it boils down to trying to play real life football within the confounds of what you're given in the video game and the limitations that it has.
And you made a great point, because as the games come out, just like, okay, so we look at the transition since Rex Dixon's been the creative director of EA. You've seen the game move towards a simulation style of play. So certain rules you might have had in the previous Maddens, you can kind of let off of them because they're less, you know, effective in this one. I'm trying to think of like how fullback dive was money, right? So it was 100% almost. This Madden, it's not working as well as it used to. I've noticed many people trying it on short distances and not picking it up, especially on the goal line. I see it working a lot less. And it used to be guaranteed, you know, 1 to 2 yards.
Yeah.
So people have rules, and which I encourage you to create rules to make your experience feel simulation to you. That's the entire point. That's why there's so many different leagues. Everybody should play according to their community, just like you're doing. A very democratic way that y'all are voting, and you're allowing your members to be engaged like that. I mean, that's all great, man, and that's probably why you've had the success you've had and been able to run August to August for 52 seasons since Madden 12. And I keep stressing that because we've been around since Madden 25, and we're only 19 seasons in, and I can only imagine. I mean, you're almost 3 times older than us, so it's just crazy, and I really respect that, especially August to August, and that's why I always keep in touch with you on Twitter. Now we're going to transition the conversation. We're about to do the hot seat, which is going to be 5 rapid-fire questions, kind of like what I mentioned to you prior to us getting on.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you something a little off the wall right now.
All right.
You probably heard this game in another form before, but I can't repeat that form. It's a little vulgar. But this one is going to be called Kill One, Fire One, and Keep One Forever on the Madden team. So you got to kill one of these people. You have to fire one from EA. And then you can keep one of them on the Madden team for the duration of the Madden series. So your 3 people are going to be Rex Dixon, the creative director of Madden, John White, the CFM designer, and Dustin Smith, the guy that does the ratings and he's equipment guru, as well as he just did those sweet jerseys for us that look really good.
Nice. Yeah, those are nice.
So you have to kill one, fire one, and then keep one forever on a Madden team. And you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and we're probably going to hype it up on Twitter, but it's all for good fun. So which one would you kill?
Oh, man. Well, even though killing is against all of my beliefs,
Definitely.
I will say.
We know where you're going.
No, this is tough, man, because I wouldn't have. I don't know. I like all those guys. Actually.
Oh, me too, man. I like them all too, man. But
if I had to kill one, it would probably have to be Equipment Guru. Just because
Dustin's dead.
Just because I know he catches all the flack because no matter what he rates someone, they're going.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They want to kill. They want to kill.
There's people that might want to actually play this game just to say that, huh? Because they might really believe that.
Well, they want to kill his rating status at least, So even though I think he's been doing a good job. Personally, I would have to go with that just because of that basis, and I know he's probably like, I hear it all day long, so it's nothing new.
So he's probably numb to that one, so you didn't hurt any feelings with that one. So kill one was Dustin Smith. So you got to fire one and keep one forever on the Madden team, and you have Rex Dixon, the creative director of EA, and you have John White, the CFM designer. So which one are you going to fire?
All right, so I'm going to fire John White.
Only
so that I can rehire him and put him in a higher position.
Oh, you turned it into a positive. So
that he can actually, so that he can be higher up in the system, so that he can actually allocate more resources to CFM to make it better, like I know he wants to do, and like he could do if EA gave him those resources.
Now you just gotta hope when you fire him that he doesn't go to Access. Oh wait, he wouldn't go. I can't go. I don't want to go there. I don't want to bury that, man. I don't want to hear the flack for that from the.
No. Because see, when I fire him, right before I tell him he's fired, I bring him into the office and say, "Look, we're only firing you to give you this other higher up job." So he already knows, right?
Oh, okay.
So
it's
it's an inside job so that we can help CFM get better by giving it more resources, by putting someone in place who would want to give it more resources.
Oh, and I love John White, man. He is actually a really great guy.
He's really nice guy. He's really
Rex
been great.
Dixon is the one you want to keep forever, man. Explain why you like Rex Dixon so much as the creative director of Madden.
Well, I'll be honest. At first, when he first came into the scene, I wasn't real hype on him. Like it seemed like he kind of had a cocky attitude, and I don't really like that. But since I've seen he's come onto the scene in 13, I've seen the game improve every year since. I know some people will debate that up and down. There are some people in the community who want to act like the game is still the same. Whatever, you can think what you want. The man has came in and did the best that I think he's done the best that he can do with what he's allowed to do according to what the suits allow him to do. And I think he has fought hard to get as much simulation into the game, just like he says. He is open with the community. He talks with them, and he's honest with them. He's always bringing out, anything that he can, and he wants people to bring him the issues in the game so that he can go in and fix them. And, since he's been there, I have seen the improvement year after year. I've seen what he and Clint and, all this, what John, what Colby did, all those guys using social media and allowing us a connection with them to be able to bring them issues, to tell them the issues we see, the concerns we have. They listen. I know a lot of times people they say it's a broken record and they say it's not true, but I understand, you've got a certain amount of time. You've got to get so many things in. You've got to make sure that you can get in as much as you can, as best as you can. Yes, the game comes out with flaws, but there isn't a game out there today that I've played that doesn't come out with flaws and need patches. There isn't any. So anyone who's looking for one, you might as well give it up, because you're not gonna find one that will. So all in all, I feel like, I think he's doing a great job, and I hope that he never leaves, because I worry if he leaves, I worry who EA will put in his place.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of, like you said, first impression of Rex Dixon, I notice a lot of guys say that about him. I think it's because he has a little stone, he doesn't show much in his face, but he's pretty real, man. And once you get to know him and you get to see how he really is, you realize he does have a pretty, really dry, good sense of humor, and he's a really good guy, and he does respond to the community. And sometimes sarcastic enough where I can get a couple laughs out of the day, him responding, but he does respond to, nearly everybody that he comes across, and he takes issues seriously, and he wants to know what's wrong with his game, and he seems very genuine and passionate. When you came on the Four Verts and talked to Sonny, that was a really good interview. And,
yeah, it was.
That pretty much summed him up right there. Anybody who listens to that interview can just see the passion that he has for it. All right, so we're going to get into the hot seat. This is the final seconds of this show. Basically, I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you're going to need to answer them as quickly as you can, hopefully 1 to 2 words. And that'll be it, man. Thanks for coming on. We really
thanks
really
for having me.
You coming on, Pooty. Anytime you want to come on, we'll definitely keep in touch and get you back on here and see if we can ask you some more crazy questions and see how many of these EA guys you can kill off before the commissioner's corner is finished. That's a joke, obviously. All right, let's get into the hot seat. All right, you ready?
Sure, man.
All right.
Yep.
Here we go. Most overrated player in Madden 17.
Oh, man. Johnny Manziel, for the fact he's even in the game. Shouldn't be there.
One player you'd bring out of retirement and add to your CFM Vikings today.
Marshawn Lynch.
All-time greatest Madden player. Madden player, not real life, Madden player.
Michael Vick.
Most important thing missing in Madden 17.
Defensive matchups or draft board, whichever one you want.
The chances Madden Ballers Club repeats as Daddy League's PS4 League of the Year.
I don't know. That's hard to say.
100%. That's what you're supposed to say. Pooty, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
having me, man.
It was great, guys. You got to check them out. daddyleagues.com/MBC. We'll have it in the description. You can also follow them on Twitter at PHTYT. And don't forget to follow Bomber League and subscribe to our channel at Bomber League on Twitter, MaddenBomberLeague.com. And if you're looking to join the NBL community, go to 365.MaddenBomberLeague.com. Once again, thanks to Pooty. Thanks to Lip. And this is your host, Bomber, saying good night.